Hi, good evening, and welcome to Wellbeing Wednesday number 5. It's my third tonight. I'm Nathan James, and I'm here on behalf of Let's Speak Men's Mental Health Group. Uh, if you're joining us on our YouTube channel, which is new, so if you haven't seen that, we can put the link in the comments. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, then welcome. And thank you for joining us. If you're watching it live in our group, then welcome also. Tonight is an interesting one, and I hope it's I've just been out of breath, sorting the dog out before. Tonight is an interesting one, and it's about something which really influences our lives a lot. It follows on from my last one. So my last one was about facing up to fear, facing everything and rising, and how not trying to not let fear rule your life, and how to it was about ways of controlling when we're having intense fear, anxiety, and what have you. Hey there, Jack. How are you doing, mate? Is it early? Is it? Oh yeah, just yeah. Got to be ready. If I start nice and early, then people will be ready. Oh, we've got 7 people tonight. We've got a good start. Okay. Um, so yeah, so tonight is called The Science of Scared, and it's about the mechanics of fear. I'm just on my phone now trying to get the live on so I can follow the comments. There we go. So hopefully that'll be sorted. Someone's eager and early. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so um, waiting for people to arrive. So the way it would be great tonight is if we can be interactive. So if you have something that you want to ask or talk about, you want to put your perspective on it, then feel free. You want to share something with myself and the others, then feel free, because that's what we're here for, to help each other in any way we can. Yeah. So it would be great if we could make it, that way. So to start off with tonight, I want to talk about what fear is very briefly. Yeah? So fear is a natural response to which our brain and our body undertakes to a perceived event or situation which we feel is dangerous or possibly negative to us. Okay. Uh, and fear can manifest itself in lots of different ways. And we all have learned fears. We have fears from trauma. Sometimes we have irrational fears. Sometimes we have fears which are destructive to our lives, our health, and not just mental health, because our physical health is also damaged, which I will go into later on when we talk about some of the effects and how fear works, the mechanics of fear. We know some of the symptoms of fear, the physical responses when you're in a situation of being scared, like sweating, your extra alertness, being aggressive, anger, pumped up. There's other symptoms also that we'll go into after from hormones, which are symptoms to do with your fear response, how your body changes in according to what you're seeing, what you think you're seeing. But where does it start? Because the whole process starts in one place, and it's basically you and your recognition of that situation. And that's what I really want to hammer home. It's where it all starts. Every single process of fear and every part of fear, how it gets into your life, into your thinking, into your being. Um, it's it's all based on you and your recognition of that fear. It's you have that fear in front of you. So this is a great place to start. You and your power. Okay. So what I want to do first of all is, hopefully you can see this. Excuse me, guys. To have a drink. How are you all doing tonight? Anyway, whoever's watching, how are you? Everything good? I hope so. Well, if it's not so good for you right now, then I really hope that things get better really soon, which they have a tendency to do when we keep on pushing and lifting our head up as much as we can. Okay, so I want to start off with this. Hi, Stuart. How are you? Oh, nice to see you, mate. I'm glad you're all good. Glad you're all good, and thanks for joining us, mate. So I wanted to start with a story. Okay, so this is a story called Trapdoor. The Trapdoor. There was a young boy and the boy was any boy. And the boy lived close to an old abandoned monastery, and he loved going there when he was growing up as a child. Inside the darkest area of the old abandoned monastery was a wooden trapdoor. Now, all the times he went there, all the times he went to this old abandoned monastery as a kid growing up, he never, not once, did he open that trapdoor. Never, not one single time. He just couldn't manage it. He was too scared of it, this boy was. Yes, mate, 2 more days until weekend. Hump day today, isn't it? Yeah, so that in all his childhood, did he open that door? He never did it. And that boy's childhood was stained. It was stained with fear. It stained his mindset, his future, and he never talked to anyone about it. He never said to anybody, "I'm terrified of this trapdoor in the floor in this old abandoned monastery." Show you some pictures here. So you've got the old abandoned monastery there. There's your trapdoor. So when he grew up, this boy, he had a son, and they went to visit close by this old abandoned monastery one day, and he thought he'd take his son along because all this time through his as he was growing up, he pushed everything down about this trapdoor, and he thought to himself, it's only a silly memory, so you ignore it, don't you? You forget about it. So he grew up, and when he was visiting close by, they went to see the old abandoned monastery, and he took his boy in. And when he saw the trapdoor, his son, noticed his reaction, his dad's reaction. And he noticed how uncomfortable he was. He didn't see him like this very much. He was concerned for him because if he had an instinct that his dad was feeling not in a good place, he was scared, maybe anxious, and it was making him feel uncomfortable. So he said, "What's up, Dad?" I said, "Nothing." Just no explanation, because Dad was too worried about himself, trying to ignore these feelings and push them back down. It was crippling him, this like anxiety, this fear, horrible fear. But the boy, his son, tried again, and he said, "What's up? You okay, Dad?" He said, "Nothing. I'm fine." And he said to his son, "Every single time we go anywhere, I'm so sick of it all the time," because Dad couldn't think of anything else. All he had was he was just filled with this negative feeling. Because I'll explain about how it works. He wasn't thinking clearly. His brain wasn't computing, and that's what it seems like when you're scared and angry, which often a big cause of anger is fear. So anyway, they went home. They spent the rest of the day, night, didn't talk about it, and to be honest, they never talked about it again. Now the next part of the story goes like this: there was a young boy. The boy was any boy. The boy lived close by to an old abandoned monastery. And the point of this story is it just shows you that that's how the cycles work through generations. So that, although it's a trapdoor and you might not relate to that trapdoor, I'm sure you can relate to situations when you've picked up on someone's fearful feelings, and you have attached that to yourself, maybe. And that's how the cycle can work through generations, that people don't deal. When we don't deal with our fears and we don't deal with these problems, then they don't go away, and we think we push them away, we ignore them, but they surface subconsciously through our triggers, through our reactions to things, and it can leave it's almost like we carry our fears around on post-it notes that in languages no one can understand. Yeah. Because we carry our fears around inside us, and it comes out in our life and with our relationships. But often we don't know that we have fears at all. And if you ask a lot of people, generally, no, I'm not scared. And the trapdoor, the reason I like that story is the trapdoor is the fear inside you or me or us, anybody really, that it's something that unless we deal with these things, then pushing it down and trying to forget about it, it's difficult without those fears, with those things that make us scared. So through talking and listening, we can understand each other more, and through knowledge we can understand our own self, because that's a big key of it. We have to. I think we have to acknowledge it and acknowledge how important and powerful knowledge is as well, and how part of the yes, exactly, Jack. Yeah, definitely. Yes, I can appreciate that totally. Facing your first fear is the hardest for sure, but when you face fears thereafter, it gets easier to do. Just like speaking out for the first time about your mental health. Yes, totally agree. I think we've all shared that probably. Like the first time to talk to somebody about it, and open up about how you feel and what have you. That's a big fear, one that a lot of people carry. I know, and every fear weighs heavy on us, doesn't it? But the knowledge is really important, and how knowledge can really help to dissolve the fear. It can help to. I wrote something down here before, because the first part of the whole process of fear is you recognizing it as fear. So knowledge plays a big part in that. If you think about the trapdoor, what this trapdoor story, that boy grew up into a man, and the trapdoor when it was opened, it was bricked up, it was sealed, and all it took was him to just face his fear and open that trapdoor that looked creepy. Uh, and then it would have saved so much down the line because it affects our lives in so many ways. Okay, so hope you enjoyed that little story, that little analogy there. Uh, yeah, keep the comments coming, guys, if you're out there. And I'd be interested to hear your comments, really. Okay, so the science of scared. That was like a little introduction, that one. The science of scared and the mechanics of fear, right? So let's have a look. So what I want to show you is, where does fear come from? The very, very first point, this is what's amazing, and this is, again, I want to hammer home this as much as possible. The very first point of fear is through our senses. Once our senses have taken this situation, this event, whatever it is that's triggering this fear, then the rest of the process follows. But our senses are the first port of call. So the first port of call might be sight. You might see something. You might see something that happened when you were a child. When through films, you might have attached two or three different instances to one different fear trigger. It's part of the sensory integration. It can go through sight. It can go through hearing screams. That's something that I'm sure we can all pretty much, remember. We've had times like that when we've heard a scream, and that gives you that feeling. So hearing, touch. Touch is a very important part, very, very important sense, and another way of taking in these fearful situations. Tastes can remind you of situations, and smells. How many times has a smell invoked a powerful memory or an emotion? So these are examples of our five senses, and then we have our other senses too. So vestibular movement, that is movement and balance. So and then also you've got proprioception, body position, and awareness. Awareness of around where you are and your surroundings. So once you've got the recognition, so that you've got the first point, the first part of the process of fear is the recognition of the circumstance, and it's your brain. You've got this. You take it in the science, your senses take in what's happening, and then your brain decides. Your amygdala, that comes from Latin, which is just a minute. That comes from Latin, which is for almond, because it's very, very small. These amygdalas, there's two of them, very small, and they are quite important in this process, which I'm talking about now. So I've just got a comment here, and it says dehydration can also be a trigger. If you've ever considered how much of your brain is water, it's estimated about 3/4 of our brain is water. as such, even slight dehydration can cause fatigue, headaches, lack of mental clarity, stress, and sleep issues. 100%. Yeah, exactly. We've talked about this before, Jack, haven't we? About the clarity, about the water and dehydration. It's huge. I've got my water here and my tea as well. So yeah, you're right. They have definitely a massive thing. Stuart, the biggest hard thing I would say. Yeah, I can imagine, Stuart. Thanks for sharing, mate. Uh, I think things like that, they can be really raw, and they can bring up triggers, can't they, for different situations, you know? It's hard to get past, and I think those are prime examples how sharing, like you have, and talking about it, and talking about the emotions can get you past it, and understanding yourself and your how to, in some instances, let go of what you can't control. You know, that's a big one. Uh, so the first part of the process we've had is the recognition of the circumstance, okay, and then your senses take it in, and then your amygdala that decides. Well, you decide, but this is the part of your brain that then alerts another part of your body. Okay, so, but that I want you to remember this first point about where the fear starts. So the fear starts with you deciding subconsciously through your learned memories, your learned behavior, but you can change it through your knowledge, through your perception, through your perspective. You can see things differently. You can learn. You can train yourself the same way that you would be scared of doing something. Some people are scared of spiders for irrational reasons. Some people are scared of something because I'm not saying fear of spiders is all irrational, obviously. Some people are scared of something because it was a loud noise or something, and they know that there's no real reason now for this fear, but you can't seem to shake it. I used to be really, really scared of flying. Uh, yeah, so I understand what it's like to have fears, but also there's the fears which root our everyday life as well, such as relationships. You know, fear of losing loved ones, fear of losing what we have, fear of not being successful enough, fear of not measuring up in our society. You know, those are big fears. Um, and I really want to talk about another time fear, what kinds of fears, and really delve into how this affects us and our fear in our general life. Because honestly, a lot of it is hidden. A lot of it is hidden. So after the process, the recognition has happened, then it goes on to the next part, which the amygdala then alerts the central nervous system. So the central nervous system is like the mainframe almost of yourself. And then that goes out into all the body, and nothing happens in your body without your central nervous system. And at this point, the stress hormones are released. So this is important. Excuse me. So, got throat getting a bit dry there. How's everyone doing? Who's watching? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to add? Feel free, comment away. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, then I hope you're finding it useful at least so far, or just spending some time. I'm happy either way. I don't mind. Okay, so moving on to this then. So I wanted to talk to you about the next part of this. So this is where the central nervous system, it gets your body's stress hormones are released, and then your body's fear response is activated. But the stress hormones, when they're released, this is an important part, because one of the hormones, cortisol, is a hormone that is important in our body, and it helps with lots of things such as regulating blood sugars and other things. And when you have too much cortisol, then it has negative effects, quite severe negative effects in some cases. So the cortisol is what is the substance, the hormone that enables the process of our body's change through fear. So after the cortisol comes into effect, then that's when we start to feel differently. The blood flow changes because our brain changes our priorities. So everything starts to be on alert for being either for freezing, running, or fighting. Okay. Or I've put here as a couple because I think that it's too easy for us to sometimes say, oh, fear is just something that you're scared of when you're going to die or something. And then fighting is just something that you do with the fellas or whatever, you know. And the truth of it is that these situations, this is in our life. So fear isn't just of when you're going to die. Fear can be of something that's going on in your life. Fear of not of missing people, you know, whatever it is. And then you've got fighting. Can be with your partners, with your loved ones, because a lot of when you go to the root of a lot of the fights that we have, a lot of it is fear. Um, okay, so the cortisol I was saying about. So cortisol has these effects on the body. So if you have too much cortisol, so if you are scared a lot, it can damage your body. But what we're talking about right now at this second is the effect it has straight away. So you can have sweaty palms. It's, for example, uh, blood pressure, your heart rate increases. Your brain is the big one. So your brain goes through changes, and what happens is your cerebral cortex, which deals with all of your thinking and your reasoning, that becomes impaired, and your body is prepared for anything that is essential to your emergency situation. You know, so it's freeze, fight, or flight. So all the blood starts pumping into your hands and your legs and your feet in case you're so ready for running or fighting. And your brain changes its priorities, your blood pressure changes, your heart rate changes, everything changes. Your reasoning and your thinking is impaired. So if you think about it, um, going back to what I was saying earlier about when you are upset, when you're scared, when you could then be angry from fear, when you're, it's a very similar symptom, is that you can't think, you can't critically think properly, you can't reason properly. So if you go back to the story, the trapdoor, the dad wasn't thinking because he would know that he would upset his son. He wasn't thinking about it. He was unable to do that. He was scared. He was scared of reliving those emotions. He had the fear. You know, fear was filling him, and that's literally what happened with his brain. His brain, the cerebral cortex, was not able to work to its full extent through the person's recognition of something being scary. So then you end up in the result with fight, flight, or freeze. So if you remember, I kept hammering home about the I find the most important part of it, which is the first part, which is the recognition of the circumstance. And that is what can be affected by you through your perception, your knowledge, perspective, your learned behavior, um, new behavior. I think that that is the most important part of it all. It's changeable, and if you can learn how to, thank you very much, Stuart. And if you can learn how to replace the fear feelings, because research shows that gratitude, for example, as a positive emotion, gratitude, you can't have gratitude at the same time as fear or another negative emotion, anger. They can't be at the same place. So, in gratitude, from the research, if you were showing gratitude, you are not angry. If you're showing gratitude, you're not scared. And similarly with love as well. So we're not just talking about a feeling between a couple or father and child, anything like that. We're talking about love in general. It's a feeling that through research, it's shown that it's a positive way to look at life. It's good for us, and as much as this science, this side of it, and what it does to our body, which I'll tell you a little bit as well about the cortisol effect. About this side of it, it's important to remember the other side of it and how our bodies and our brains are geared for us to do certain things, because those certain things then make us physically and mentally and emotionally better. We're healthier, and some of those things are as simple as being grateful to ourselves, to other people, you know, in general. Also, trying to not worry about things that control us. These things help us deep rooted. So I was going to talk to you about cortisol as well. So this is not about trying to, worry anybody. These are just things to be mindful of, because what I'm trying to get across is that fear, a lot of fear is removable. It can be changed. It can be replaced. The thoughts, because it's all based on your recognition. And the same way that you learn, even though you don't want to, the same way that you learn the behaviors of fear and where it comes from, then you can change those behaviors. And like I said about the fear, how it affects your life, it can be fear that someone with an argument, fear that you have a fear inside that the person that you love is going to leave you, a fear inside that something's going to happen that's bad. Um, these fears often are triggered by past events, and it's something that's not one of our wanting at that time. The trigger happens, the amygdala sends the information to our body, our brain, and then, like I said, I explained, it all goes from there. So what I'm trying to get across is that first point, very first point, the recognition is what I'm trying to get at. You the first and most important part. Okay, so cortisol here. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but I'm going to go through it. So cortisol can help control blood sugar levels, regulate metabolism, help reduce inflammation, and assist with memory formulation. It has a controlling effect on salt and water balance and helps control blood pressure. So it's useful. Yes, thank you, Johnny. Yes. So cortisol is it's a useful thing, but if you have too much of it, there are many ways that you can pick up excess cortisol. So, for example, we've been talking about the situations through anxiety, being fearful situations. Sugar, diet is a massive one as well, but just quickly, sugar is huge. It contributes to a big raise in the cortisol levels. Okay, so I just wanted to say that. So excess cortisol. So this excess cortisol, it's through fear, stress, anxiety, but also through, like I said, diet and things like that. So whatever it is here, like Johnny's just pointed out he said, great topic. As for cortisol, the number one best thing we can do is to exercise, flushes cortisol from our body. So it's important, I think, that when I'm talking about the effects that you can have from being in fear and what have you, to think about how you can switch it around, which we're going to do in another episode. So, but you can have rapid weight gain in the face, chest, and abdomen, contrasted with slender arms and legs, flushed round face, high blood pressure. These are all extreme symptoms that can happen. Blood sugar imbalances, increased thirst and frequency of urination, mood swings, which show as anxiety, depression, or irritability, and all this can be. A lot of these things can be something that's within our power, within our grasp. Hey Jack, so I don't exercise now. The gyms are shut, even though that's no exercise excuse, lol. But I do a very physical job, so that contributes to my exercise. Yes, oh yes, mate, definitely. I know what you feel about, when you sort of say that's no excuse. I get it, because it's like I was starting my workouts last week, and then Monday, Tuesday this week I've not been able to do them. I've been so tired at the end of the day. I've been so busy. And I think that you're right. It does contribute, your job. It does contribute, definitely. And I suppose that's good for you in that way, isn't it? That your job is physical, and then you can talk and share things with the fellas as well, like we all can, thanks to you, funnily enough. Just let me have a check where I'm at. Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. Yeah. So. I think summing up this part before I go open it to you guys. Summing up, I think that's the most important thing of all this, is that I really wanted to hammer home, and I didn't want to spend too long, because obviously it's people's attention. I don't want to bore you all. So I think that the important thing to remember is that it's within us. That's the thing. It's the recognition. It's the point that we can retrain ourselves, our brain, our way of thinking, because fear, once you realize that if you've been living with fear and you realize and once it's gone, when you faced up to it, when you faced your fears, then it is an incredible feeling when you come through your fears, when you face up to them. Um, it's celebrating your victories and the fears that you come up to and you face. It's amazing. So believe in yourself. It's down to you, but thankfully there are many of us, and if there's many of us, we can all share the load, and then it becomes a lighter load. And I found it amazing being in the group, and I'm sure lots of you have. And I hope that all the admin team and everyone else in crew contributes. I hope that we can all help each other, and I hope that's what we are doing. Um, so I'm going to ask you if there's any questions or comments or anything like that at all, and I will say that Johnny Mayer will be here next Wednesday, um, as well. I don't know what topic, but we'll be sharing that on the group. If, like I said before, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, please come and visit us at the Let's Speak Men's Mental Health group. We'll look forward to seeing you there. So, Jack, we all suffer with some sort of fear, whether we know it or not. It's definitely there, fear. So to see this explanation of what and why it's there and what we can do to control is very helpful indeed. Well, thank you very much, Jack. Very kind. Thanks, my man. So, yeah, any questions or comments or anything, then feel free. Just to quickly go over that one. The recognition part, the process of fear. Recognition of circumstance. The amygdala alerts the CNS, the stress hormones released, your body's fear response activated, your brain changes its priorities, so it goes from critical thinking and reasoning, you can't do that anymore. For example, throwing your hands in the air at a haunted house, and then that results in your fight, flight, or freeze. So like I said, it's the first point, I think. This is the point of this tonight. It's to look at the first point of that process and you recognizing and you being able to change that recognition. Okay. So thanks for that, Jack. He's popped the link to the YouTube channel on there. You can also inbox me and the other admin team anytime, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys. Bye.